Welcome back, Edu Steppers. You know our mission: help you be, know, and do your best on the way to, through, and beyond graduation. Today's episode builds on what we've covered this year, but focus on what truly matters now: the challenges that you're dealing with crossing the finish line into life after high school. We've tackled FAFSA, mental health, college value, standardized testing, time management, career hacks. Now we're stepping into the transition itself. So one of the things I wanted to get into, and I'm so sorry, before I even get into it, let me say thank you to the team. Dr. Crawford isn't in today, but we got the one and only D Hill, Daniel Hill. How you doing today, brother?
Wonderful. And y'all, how y'all boys doing today?
Doing good, doing well.
Feeling and looking fresh, man.
And of course, we have the founder of Laddering Success, my brother, Festus Amoye. Festus, how you doing today, man?
Doing really excellent, man. I've focused on resting this weekend, even though, you feel like it puts you behind on things. I think that resting in some ways is an art and take work, you know what I'm saying? To just be able to tune out, slow down, not be all about, man, get it done. So yeah.
For sure. I love that, man. That's definitely true, man. It's like the art of rest, especially in this 25/8 society. The art of rest. I think the art and the science of rest is key, man. So I love that. I'm so glad you're taking that, because I see you running, man. Festus out here, he running around like a Jamaican. 8 jobs. You got taxi cabs and cars. Like, how you get there?
24 hours, 8 hours a piece, 3 jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, it's like a Chris Rock joke. Chris Rock told a joke, and I think he may have been talking about Kevin Hart, and he was like, Kevin Hart worked so much. Whenever he walks down the street, the construction workers say, "Hey, take a break. Take some time off, man. Take a nap. Do something." But let's jump right into it, man. Let's talk about, am I ready, or are you ready? The confidence gap. A recent K-12 Stride survey found that 32% of grads say high school did not prepare them for adult life, fearing finances, mental health, and big decisions. A U-Science report shows that 72% only feel only moderately or less prepared for what comes next. So thinking about that from a LYS standpoint, yes, you might feel cautious, confused, or anxious, and that's okay. That's normal. That's a part of this journey, right? Many of your peers probably feel the same way. But the one thing you got to do is you got to talk about it, seeking support before you hit in the real world. Festus does he describes this really well. By the time you graduate high school, you'll still kind of get a little bit of, sympathy, if you will, from most people out there. But by the time you hit 2021, most people are like, you're on your own, buddy. I mean, that's it. You're just on your own. So I want to discuss that with us right now. Which adult life skill, like budgeting or managing stress, do you feel like our students really, really need, or are in most need of? Right? Which one of those skills? Is it budgeting? Is it managing stress? Or do we need to think about this in a completely different way? Like, how do we get to this point where a lot of our kids even feel like this in the first place? What's missing?
I'm going to say the skill is learning how you learn, or being self-taught. I think that's the thing, is that people don't understand what real genuine education, the outcome it's supposed to bring about. It's supposed to bring about the ability for you to learn how to learn, so you could keep on learning. And so the educator's job is really to touch your passions, your desires, your sensitivities, make it relevant to what needs to be learned, so you could take those foundational things to keep on learning. But a lot of people are expecting an outcome from the educators, you know what I mean, instead of just expecting the material. So a lot of people think the teacher's making me smart. instead of thinking the teacher's equipping me to be as smart as I want to be. And so I think that's the big difference, because again, if you learn how you learn best and you're able to ask questions, you're able to do research, you're able to, a lot of those other things become pretty taken care of. You know what I'm saying? And especially if you haven't learned those things by the time you graduate high school, it's not all the school's fault. A lot of it is on family. A lot of parents, you got helicopter parents doing everything for their kids, not giving their kids any responsibility. There used to be a saying, idle hands do the devil's work. And when you don't have responsibility, you become idle. And if you become idle, you generally become shiftless or lazy. So now you're going from thing to thing to thing, or you're not doing anything, And so, to me, that's the top skill.
Yeah. I love that. Learning, basically, learning how to learn. Yeah.
I guess the real question is, right, you said it's not preparing for a reality. I think we just got to teach them reality. Like how Festus said last week, like, people not going to be babying you. Like, they baby kids all the way up to the 18. It's almost like but then they blame the schools, but then the school try to teach your kid consequences. Then somebody come complain. When you don't teach them consequences, they complain. We don't teach them that people not going to be like, you cussing out somebody, you're not going to get a second chance. You're going to lose that job. You not handling your finances, your mom and dad ain't going to be there. You're going to go broke. Like, so I guess, and like Festus just said, it's not about the like, I could have all the material in the world. Like, I had material, everything. And I tell you, go look at, but I'm not at your house. I can't make you study that material. You want to get smart. It's like, y'all have all the material. People say, I want scholarships. Reality is, you got to read the book and do what y'all say in the book to get the scholarships. Like my niece and them, they was like, yeah, I read your book. I got me $8,000. I ain't got no more fees. Yeah, I read your book. Or matter of fact, I think she just did what y'all said, and now her mom didn't have to pay that extra money. So it's not, everybody wants to blame society, but it's really just them, bro. Like, how can somebody in the same school take the same classes, and this person comes out, like, if you read it, 35% say it didn't prepare. Well, guess what? That means the other 65 got prepared. So what were they doing that you weren't doing? So you can't always blame the schools. You have to blame yourself. You got to take responsibility.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Hey, LYS fam. It's Ole once again. These days, many families are busy but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
This reminds me of a story. One day, I think Festus and I were talking about something, and Festus said, to paraphrase what he said, in order to have a business, you have to have a certain level you have to have a certain mindset to be able to deal with all these things that are happening at the same time. And he said that, the things that he had been through had been a good preparation for that. And at that time, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, I definitely don't have a lot of those things. And I thought about that in relation to what y'all were talking about here is this: if you've grown up in a household or in an environment where you don't have any real examples of people who have actually put in work and you haven't been able to see it and then kind of see the fruit that bears from it, if you haven't been able to be given that blueprint, if you will, it's going to be really, really hard for you when you're of age. And by of age, I mean by the time you're graduating high school, of even learning the processes, to your point, Festus, to be able to know how you learn and to apply that pattern over and over again. It is going to be really, really hard. I'll tell you how hard it is. It's so hard that if you don't figure it out by the time you're 7 or 8 years old, there's a certain percentage chance that you'll end up in prison. That's how hard it is, because you've already been hardwired by the time you're in the 3rd grade. So you're 7 or 8, add 10 years on top of that. The hard drive that is your brain and your system is already hardwired to do so many things a certain way, which is why, you see parents who take their kids to certain museums. They put them in camps. They do these things. They do those things. They show them, budgeting. You talk about just the brain and expansion and how synapses work and how kids are just taking so much in and how beneficial it is. It leads to these problems right here, right? It's a body thing, but it's also an external thing that happens. And so, that just some of the thoughts that I had as I was thinking, but it just goes to the point of course, a lot of our students aren't going to be ready. They just haven't been exposed to that. And then at this moment, you're taking them to a whole new place and saying, hey, this is the new coursework. Also, this is kind of how you need to function to be a mature person in society. So interesting time. All right, let's look into the next thing. Got some more stats for you guys. Walton Foundation found that less than 30% of Gen Zers feel very prepared for any post-secondary path, and only 15% got solid info on alternatives like apprenticeships or certifications, right? So some of the things that came to my mind is a lot of folks may feel boxed into one path, right? But always remember, you're not boxed into that one path. I think one of the single best things that Festus ever showed us was the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov, and that's the Occupational Outlook Handbook, where you yourself can go in and take a look at career clusters, different fields and occupations and roles and careers, how much they pay, how much those career paths are expected to grow or drop, how many of them are around, what's the median salary, what's the high and the low, what is the required skills or prerequisite degrees or certifications that you need to have in order to do those jobs, right? This is all free information for us. Also, remember that there are numerous paths, right? One of the things we always love talking about with kids are the 6 things you can do after high school. You can go to college or university. You can get a regular job. You can join the military. You can do a trade school. You can do a trade school or like a certification program. You can start your own business, or you can sleep on your parents' couch. That's it, right? And so just knowing those things, especially in regards to your career paths and where you want to go to, if certain paths aren't necessarily open for you right now, what are some other things that are aligned with your values, your principles, and your characteristics that you can do right now to help you before you get to that next level? Right? And that's if, it requires university or if it requires college. Shout out to the new HCC. We was talking about this the other day. Houston Community College is no longer Houston Community College. It's Houston City College. So now you can get a couple of more, advanced degrees and certifications. And also another thing to do is explore at least 2 new options. You got internships, you got info interviews, you got career tests, right? This is like the know portion of be no do, knowing the resources around you and how do you take advantage of those, knowing the resources around you and how do you get access to those things, right? So Festus and Hill, I want y'all to tell the folks out there, what's one post-high school path that you would recommend for students who are kind of like us? Well, I can't speak for you, Hill. I really can't speak for you, Festus, because you were in the military. You did one of the 6 things. I went to university because my dad was going to kick me out if I didn't go. So that was just my thing. But what's one alternative path for a lot of those students who are like, man, I made it. You know what I mean? I put that tassel to the side. I got my degree. And now I'm trying to figure out, like, all right, you know, I've heard of Lone Star. I've heard of the community college path. I've heard of the certification in this thing. I've heard of this program over here. It's a 6, 8, 12, 16, 18, 24-month program. Maybe I could do it. I don't know. I just got this job at Costco. I just got this job over here, you know, at Wingstop. You know, I can save up and I can get these subwoofers. I can get those 18s, those 12s, right? What's one alternative pathway that a lot of our young people may not know about that they can look into to help them as they start this journey?
Hill, you want to tackle it first? You're muted.
Yeah, man, I would say I go to tech school. These boys making so much money. Man, electricians. Like you see that one dude, he said, hey, all y'all was telling about, he's talking about selling dope. Look at this. And he sold his receipt for the week, how much he made. He said $3,600. Hey, you saw it, $3,600. Don't believe these boys out here selling dope. This is 40 hours a day. Because, you know, they say electricians make this, they make that. They only make $27 an hour. We all know that's a lie. We know how much these boys make between $50 to $100 a job. So electrician, bro, I would definitely do that. And I ain't gonna lie, I probably been like Festus. If I would know what I know now about the military and how much money they was getting, well, boy, been about 30 years in by now. So yeah, that's probably why I say a tech school, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon and say either a community college or some kind of technical school. If you could get a community college that offers technical school, then that would be the best way to go. Because to me, I think so. One of the issues that people don't understand about what the different pathways in education is, you could easily get peg hold, meaning, you know, you got certified for electrical, you got licensed for electrical, then you end up just doing electrical your whole life. And you don't get me wrong, there's different roles. You could be manufacturing, you could be commercial, you could be residential, you could, you know, all of those different types of things. But sometimes those things still require more education. And so getting a little bit of formal education, you know, an associate's degree and a technical skill, you know what I mean, is a really good way to go. So get like an associate's degree, do welding, get an associate's degree, do AI, get an associate's degree, do, you know, plumbing, get an associate's degree. You know, to me is like one of the holy grails, because you get enough formal education to understand when to switch and what the difference is in terms of like theory and things like that. But then from a tech school part, you know, you graduate, you get out, usually you join the union. Usually most of those jobs are unionized, and then you're able to, you know, end up making some pretty good money pretty quickly. Whereas people who just have the academia, is drying up. It's drying up out here.
Man, I love it. Man, yes.
Hey, LYS fam. It's Ole. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show, because you know it's some good topics.
You know, I remember one day we were doing a call and I said, if I could go back, I get a degree in education with a minor in marketing. But as we've been involved with that and your success, and we've seen the good work, there's a part of me that's been like, all right, I've seen so many of these options out here. And when you see people who love what they do, they're working in their purpose and their passion, and they're like, hey man, yeah, I work at this thing here. And what we do is we show young people how to do trade jobs. So they can do construction, electrical, they can do drywall, they can do this, that. And I'm just like, the way they talk it, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, okay, I can do that too. Dang, come on, man. Like, to me, man, it makes my heart warm when you see people who are so dedicated. Shout out to Leaf, of course, and so many other districts and like community colleges have these, basically the entire frame of a house, right? It's inside these buildings, and they have the plumbing set up in there, and they're showing young men and young women how to work the plumbing. They're showing young men and young women how to do electrical work. And I remember something else Festus told me. Festus said, in business, you can be really good at your job, but if you're not holding up to par, or if you're not being able to meet certain requirements, the customer will let you go. And they will bring someone in who may not even be at the level that you are, but still know somewhat of this, a certain amount. They may not know as much as you, but they may know a certain amount, and they'll just use that person. And I thought about that, and I was like, think about that. You can be really, really good, but just because you're missing certain things, whatever it may be, they may let you go and bring someone else who isn't even as good as you. And so one of the big things that I want to tell these young folks is, man, please and thank you go a long way. They go way further than you'll ever know or think. A lot of times when people talk about getting into these rooms, a lot of times it's just built off respect. And I think that young people right now, y'all have got to take this mindset of like, I always like to say, learn something like you're going to teach it to somebody. Learn something like you're going to teach it to somebody, because the way that you're going to learn it is going to be different. You're going to be like, I got to make sure I know this inside and out, because if I got to teach it to somebody, I want them to know it as well. And so to both of y'all's point, when you're trying to do these programs, like you want to do like an electrical program, right? Ask questions. Ask questions. I used to get made fun of so much for asking questions, and I don't even care. Because people already have the same question, they just don't want to admit it. And number two, how else are you going to learn? It would be like if I want to be a master teacher, right? And Jesus was sitting right here, and I would just be like, okay, well, it was nice meeting you. And you have the master, and you're not asking any questions, right? Now, you could get into a whole Neil deGrasse Tyson kind of thing. Well, how would I even be able to think of the right type of question to ask? Like, no, don't do that. But just ask questions, right? That would be my thing for young people. And build on your skills. And the reason why I say all that is in 2025, I believe the one who knows a little bit of everything is going to be the person that is very valuable. I think it's been that way for a while, but I think it's gonna play an even more important role as we move along with just the advent of AI, machine learning, and so many things that are happening. So many changes are happening so quickly, and I think those who are able to build upon themselves are going to do well. And we always talk about knowing access, what resources are around me. How do I take advantage of those things? There are so many free resources these days where folks can be I won't say an expert, but you can be very well versed in a particular topic or in a particular subject or field if you put in that work. And that's the main thing is putting in the work, right? Who are you associating yourself with? What kind of work are you putting in? All right. Last thing I want to jump into, or one of the last things I want to jump into, Wall Street Journal, WSJ reports hiring freezes and unemployment are hitting hard. Graduates aged 22 to 27 face 6.6% unemployment, and entry-level hiring is down 17% versus 2019. This is the age-old complaint of, I got a degree, all the jobs say I need to have experience. I can't get no experience if I can't get a job, right? All right. High school grads without college face 14.5% unemployment. A couple things to think about. Job markets are tight, and you may need persistence. Develop flexibility, right? Think about remote work, hybrid work. This is a term that Festus loves. I remember him talking about it quite a bit. Gig economy, trade jobs. We talked about this. Internships, right? Start networking and applying early, even before graduation. Build that job experience now, right? So my question for everyone is, what is one skill you can build right now to stand out in the job market? Which one skill that high school kids, college age kids can build right now to enter the job market?
Hey, first of all, let's actually go back a few minutes ago when you called yourself Jesus. I mean, just
No.
compare yourself to Jesus.
Olay said, no, that's not what I said.
He said, think about this. It's like saying you was with Jesus. I'm like, oh, this boy just called himself Emmanuel. Okay. Not messing with you. I think you hit the point, bro. I ain't gonna lie. These days, being humble, bro, that's a skill. Like, these people think they supposed to go in and get the $150,000 job, bro. Like, go volunteer. Like, they be like, oh, like, or they go to a factory and they want to get the job that pays $20, $25. Bro, you don't even have to do the work. Think about it. If these people hire you, like, if I go somewhere and I'm trying to get some, like, we was raised, hey, look, go over there and learn from this dude. Like, you might not make no money, but go learn from him. So you might go over there and just help out. Man, I'm good, man. Let me just go check out. But you go to the factory and you start on the line. Then you start watching people and you ask, can you move up? The skill they need to learn is patience and time, because they ready to quit jobs and they not some people not humble, like, and know that some days you have to work on your birthday. Because you see people, they get mad because they got to work on their birthday. Bro, who hasn't worked on their birthday, bro? So a skill to now these days is humble and patience. You can have all the knowledge and nobody wants to work with you, bro.
Yeah, I definitely agree that how would I'll probably put it a little bit differently. I will put it learning how to develop character, values, and principles. You know, just learning that aspect of how to develop those things, I think is key, because I think a lot of people, they don't realize how much that has to do with their personal success, because they think, oh, I could do the thing. Well, since I could do the thing, you're going to put up with my attitude. You're going to put up with me running late. You're going to put up with this, that, or the third. And, you know, it's sad because nowadays, I think it's getting to a point where certain people won't even get a chance, right? Based off of outside looking in, you know, because some people are going to, last time I hired somebody who looked like you. Last time I hired somebody from that piece of, you know, that part of the city.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole. You know, if there's one thing I love, it's something free. I'm talking free 99, un gratis. No shipping or handling fees, no gotcha fees, nothing like that. With that being said, if you're graduating soon or thinking about college or need a nudge or help to decide, then our free ebook, 10 Things to Think About Before Going to College, has a very balanced and open-minded way of presenting your next steps. It captures broad topics in a personal way by giving students an insightful, interactive, and reflective source of inspiration. It is very beneficial to be able to visualize some of the concepts after high school and apply them directly to you. We all know life, college, and career planning decision-making choices for students can be challenging, especially as they near the completion of high school. This book will provide you with a self-paced guide to your success beyond academics and into real life. Not only is it free, you can complete this book within a week. This will definitely prepare you for long-term success. To get your free copy, simply go to lys.com/students. I mentioned it was free, right? Well, if I didn't, it's free. Like, for real, for real. Okay, back to the podcast.
And I think that's the thing. As much as we want to snuff out biases and whatnot, it's going to get to a point, and I think it's already kind of getting there, where it's like, I'd much rather just use the AI. So developing the character, values, and principles and understanding how to develop those things, I think is really key.
Definitely agree there. Humility, character, values, principles, I think it's all necessary these days. That's a great point about folks not being aware of implicit or even unknown biases that people have as they're entering that job market. So very, very necessary. All right, want to talk a little bit about mental health. This is a big one. One of the things we talked about a couple of times over the past 6 months. Even before graduation, 30 to 40% of students report struggling with stress, anxiety, or sadness. Add transition stress and expectations, and this intensifies. So one of the things I want young people to remember is you're not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You're human, right? Do not be afraid to look for free resources. And I know they're out there. If I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this, if you haven't found any yet, you ain't looking hard enough. You did a Google search and look for like 3 seconds because they're out there. Because I've seen them myself. I was like, damn, this really made me. I might see what I do about that. Okay, so mental health support resources. Even one of the biggest, and Festus, thank you. You mentioned this for years. If you are in a college campus, if you are in a community college campus, if you are in a junior college, there are resources for mental health services. Most of the time, they are free. Use those services. You pay for those services, right? This is one of the things Festus did. I remember we looked down the list of all the line items that you pay for. If you look on the line items, there is a line item for the services that you require, right? It's there. Take advantage of them. And lastly, do or start meditation, prayer, office hours, whatever it may be. Try to take some time to just give yourself that opportunity to clear your mind. That was a big thing for me as I was doing a program. It was the hardest thing for me to do was the journaling, but it was probably one of the most beneficial things outside of peer-to-peer calling. So just having a friend that you call, right? I don't know if y'all remember, there was videos that went viral of men calling their friends to say goodnight. And it was so cool to see, the majority of the men were like, what? You call me? Man, get off my phone, man, waste my time. But it was cool. You would see a couple guys and were like, oh, thanks, bro. I love you, man. Good night, right? And so it made me think about your circle. Who's in your circle, right? And who do you truly have that you can have those conversations with, right? So my question for everyone is, what are some self-care habits our young people can commit to? And who actually, scratch that. Who are some people that young people can trust to check in when they're feeling stressed? Because I think that's the thing is a lot of them don't have that person or don't know how to find that person that they can trust. I hear a lot of young people talking about, I don't know, trust is a big thing, right? It's fleeting. Trust in the sense of what we knew is fleeting. So how can they find those people?
One, church. Well, let me put it right. A godly church, because there's a bunch of churches out there that don't even know God. One thing they can do is get up and start reading the Bible. I know it sounds, everybody said, but read the Bible. Find a real Christian community. Let go of people who negative all the time. Start changing your thinking habits. You can meditate on the word. Like meditation is good. I meditate and say Yahweh over and over again and stuff like that. You already said go for a walk. I didn't realize I didn't start working outside sometimes and just walking around the neighborhood doing push-ups. Totally different than going into the gym. Now it's hot as sin outside, but it's totally different. So once again, working out outside, going to church, find a Christian community, especially young people, find youth. I'm sure they got this Christian stuff in school. We just didn't search out for them in school because we was acting ignorant. So we trying to find the dumb stuff, but find people trying to do better and small groups and stuff like that.
Definitely, I would say, obviously, your church, religious organization. Two, there's other small community organizations, and I think that's the part that's really difficult, is just making yourself vulnerable enough to reach out to those organizations. So a lot of times organizations are actually looking for students to get involved, but the student has to be willing as well to take that step to get involved. So organizations like Elite Votes, organizations like communities in schools, organizations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, again, those organizations do have, some of them have past that are, shady, but at the same time, I think that's one of those things where it's like everybody and everything kind of has a past, and you just have to be very, very careful how you approach it going forward, and again, as a young person, please do not put yourself in a situation with an adult where they're asking you to keep secrets, where they're secluding you. You know what I mean? So they're kind of pulling you off by yourself. Every time you meet with an adult as a young person, you need to do it in a public space, right? So that other people can see and let people know, right? So if you're gonna go meet with a person who's a trusted advisor or something like that, let your parents know. And sometimes, unfortunately, your parents are the ones who are abusing you. So you have to, let somebody else know, auntie, uncle, I'm saying, something like that, where you say, hey, I'm going to go hang out with such and such, just so that somebody knows where you're at, and then if something goes left, they can say, hey, you were the last person seen with them, or, they at least let me know that they were coming to meet you before that thing took place. So again, be safe, but at the same time, be willing to be vulnerable, because nothing gets done otherwise.
Absolutely. Just based off of what y'all were saying, I think it's in the LYS book, which is basically some friends you have will be closer than family. And so I think having people that are aligned with you, I read this years ago. If there's something that you like to do, do that thing, go out and do that thing. And that's usually how you will meet people that have that thing in common, right? So, if you need like a really simple thing or idea to do, if you like, I don't know, karaoke, if you like getting boba, if you like roller skating, if you like flag football, if you like soccer, basketball, whatever, go do that thing that you like to do. And that's where you will genuinely meet people there to do those things. Other thing that came to my mind is actions speak louder than words. People's actions will show you who they truly are. Another thing Festus mentioned is in a roundabout way, right? Is, if someone says something, okay, it's one thing, but if you see them do it, you really know kind of what you need to know about that person. And trust your gut. Trust your gut, right? All righty. So we've reached the end of our podcast today. It's been a great trip down memory lane. I believe this is the halfway point of our third year. So we're starting our third year, right? This is the halfway point. So technically it's like 2.5 years, 2.5 years. We've been going strong. And so it's been a nice little break to be able to recap and go over some of the things we've been going over this past year. We have a couple more guests coming on this year, and we are definitely looking forward to growing and reaching these young folks and helping them climb that ladder one step at a time. So remember, Edu Steppers, graduating is not the finish line. It's the start for what comes next. Own where you're strong, ask for help where you're not, and remember, your journey is yours alone. It's okay to feel behind. It's not okay to stay static, right? If you need more info, please be sure to follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and on TikTok. Until next time, be intentional, know your path, and do something today that your future self will thank you. For D. Hill, for Festus Amoye, I'm Ole Sharanki. Keep stepping, keep growing. Festus, hit him with the phrase that pays, my good sir.
So listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. We appreciate each and every one of you who listened to this episode. If you like what you heard, go ahead and smash the like button. If you thought somebody else needed to hear this, go ahead and hit the share button. And if you've been following us for a while and you're like, man, really want to help these guys out, just don't know how, go ahead and hit the follow button as well and the reminder button so that you could get the next episode. All right. We'll see you on the next episode. Y'all be blessed.